Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at the start of another build. As you know, I've already got lots of other builds ongoing, but they're all stalled for one reason or another. Some, like the build of the Toby the Tram engine, because I probably need to do some painting of the body next and the weather's not great for spraying paint outside. Others, like the Welsh Pool Loco, I still need to figure out how I'm possibly going to replace some of the parts that I'm not happy with. So I've been through the stash and I decided I'd have a start on another model. Something a bit different in a gauge scale combination that I've never done before. So what we have here is the Springside models kit and the chassis, well, the donor loco essentially that's required to motorise this. So if we have a look at the box, it's a Springside models kit for a 7mm scale, 18-inch gauge 040 works loco. So this is 7mm to the foot, so that's O gauge scale, well, or scale. So the same as things like the small Clayton battery loco that I designed and built. I'll stick a link to the playlist for that here. But instead of running on 14mm gauge track for 2-foot gauge, it's running on 9mm gauge track, so a standard kind of N gauge track to represent 18-inch gauge, which is why we can use a standard N gauge loco as the donor body. So you can tell probably from the box but design, but also from the packaging of the donor loco, that this is quite a kit's been around a while. I didn't actually pay these prices for them. I bought this fairly recently actually from a forum. Somebody had obviously put the parts together a while ago but never got around to making it. I haven't actually opened the body kit yet. It's still completely sealed. We'll do that on this video, but I have taken the donor loco out of the box. Now I don't know whether the donor loco was bought brand new or second hand. I'm guessing possibly second hand, but I don't know. But I have run it. I'll try and stick some video up here. It's a bit jerky, to be honest, but I think that's partly the fact that I ran it, as you'll see, on my test track, which isn't the cleanest of things, and B, looking at these the wheels and things there, they could probably do with a bit of a clean. It's a bit difficult to see, but these are plain wheels, but these are grooved, I think to give a bit more grip, but it does mean that dirt can also build up in these. So I think the whole thing is a bit of a clean, and being a completely a geared chassis like this, it's quite noisy, and I think it could also do with a bit of lubrication. So as part of removing the body and the chassis from this to build the kit, I will give this a bit of a service. But it does at least run, which was the thing I needed to check before I went and started on the build. So as I said, this hasn't been opened, so I have no idea what's actually in this box other than the body kit. I'm assuming, I don't actually know even if it comes with the tender. You can see the loco here. It's based basically on the Lancashire Yorkshire Railway works locos. There's one in the entrance to the National Railway Museum in York, or is when the whole museum's open. Currently part of it's closed for refurbishment, but if you go in, when I went a few years ago, if you go in through the modern entrance, this is literally just inside the door, parked there. I'll see if I might have a photo from that trip. If I do, it'll appear here, but if I don't, you can probably look it up online. But anyway, that's what it's built around. So these things are tiny, as you can see based on the driver figure, and they were basically for moving things around the loco works. So yeah, so let's get this open and have a look. As I say, I have no idea what's in here. So let's see if I can figure out how the box actually opens. I'm assuming it's down here. He says, hopefully. I managed to open it without cutting it. Oh, mostly, there we go. So as I say, I have no idea how old this version of the kit is, but yeah, I don't think it's been, as I say, it's never been opened, all the packaging material. So what have we got? Well, we've got some instructions. I'm guessing possibly done on a typewriter and photocopied. But yeah, you can see, look, body kits are designed to fit the Ibetron, I have no idea how you pronounce that, Engage Cuckoo chassis. So yeah, and the tool truck will fit any grey and fresh four-wheeled wagon. Chassis and wagon kit not provided in kit. So I will need to, if I want to build a tender as well, which I probably do, then I'll need to find that kit at each point. Yeah, so it's obviously, you know, it's a white metal kit, which is what I expected, and yeah, we've got some drawings, some instructions, some details on how things go together and how things, more importantly, how things come apart, which will be useful. So let's have a look at the pieces. All really nicely wrapped in tissue paper. Quite excited really, I haven't done an unwrapping of a kit before like this. It's something a bit different. Sorry about the tissue paper noise. Ooh. So we've got some wire. Mostly I think that's going to be for detailing things. Let's have a look. Oh, and a nice big bag of white metal castings, including the driver figure. So that driver figure, obviously, let me get rid of this tissue paper. I won't make quite so much noise. So yeah, so a driver figure gives you an idea of scale. So first thing I can see that, I mean, I don't know what the rest of the parts are like, but you can see that this driver figure has a lot of flash on the castings, so that's going to take some cleaning up. But you can see that's the 2mm to the foot gauge Engage Loco, and there's the 7mm to the foot gauge driver figure. So yeah, difference in scale. Let's have a look. We've got nice chunky white metal castings. Actually, I mean, there is some moulding left over, flash, whatever you want to call it, on the inside here, but actually the parts all look quite nice and crisp. I've had nightmares in the past with white metal kits that don't line up. When you try and put things together, the parts don't line up, and you end up with holes that don't fit. But this is currently looking not too bad. So yeah, so I'm obviously going to, there's some tiny bits, I don't want to lose anything. I'm going to have to sort through all this and put it all together. But you've got things like, you know, the Loco, essentially, if you look, as I say, if you look at the box, the Loco is essentially a boiler with a water tank sat on top. That's basically all there is to it. And that's obviously, that's the back, that's the firebox door at the back of the boiler. So that's essentially the boiler with then the water tank sat on top, essentially like that. To give you the general benefit, general idea of the size of the thing. Now that looks like the foot plate, which it's a white metal casting wrapped in tissue paper and in a box for goodness knows how many years. As you can see, it's not flat, but this is white metal, so these will flatten out as long as I'm careful. You can straighten most of these things without too much in the way of issue. I'm guessing that might be the body of the tender. Yeah, I think it probably is. I think these are these are going to be the sides, something like that. So yeah, we'll have to sort through all these parts. So my plan is try and do a bit more this week. So there'll be hopefully a few moments later black screen, and we'll come back with some progress. Yeah, see how far I get. Let's put it that way. Well, not a huge amount of progress, but some. Haven't done anything with the body kit yet, but I've been through the first part of the instructions, which are all about modifying the donor chassis. So I've done a couple of things. Obviously, the body's gone. I've removed the couplings at the front and the back. They're a bit weird. They're held in by little clips, essentially, that come up from the bottom of the coupling and fold over on the top of the chassis. So getting those out, you have to kind of unfold them. Yeah, not something I've seen anything like that before, and they were a bit stiff to get out, but they've come out. The back one you can only take out when you've got the motor out, which was fine because the instructions also have you snip down the piston rods. On the original model, you might have seen it in the first half of this video. when they come right to the furthest forward part of their motion, they're sticking out quite a long way from the front of the cylinders. Not at all prototypical, but means that there's no chance of them snagging when they come back, and if they're being too short essentially. But basically, you take the motor out and you make sure you've rotated it so they're as far forward as possible, and you can kind of push it a little bit further, and then you snip them off, and it means when they rotate they don't pop out of the front. Other modifications, I've cut the buffers off the front, so there was a needle file, a thin saw, words are escaping me this morning. I cut those off and then just filed that nice and smooth. The buffers are left on the back just to get the right length, and the right position. And then, the other thing is the pickup strip here originally had a right angle turn on it, and kind of was levered up a little bit, I think to, I'm not actually entirely sure why, it connected onto the inside of the body. Anyway, they obviously needed removing because otherwise they're both going to catch on the white metal body, which would cause a short, because if both of them touch the white metal body. So they're cut back to just before these little, just after these little clips here that they sit in. You can see that. And the clips hold it down in place. I might put a dot of glue on the end as well, just to be on the safe side. But it stops them kind of springing up and touching the foot plate. It does still run. I had a bit of a moment when I put it back together and it didn't. And I have added a little bit of oil on the gear train, and that seems to turn a lot nicer now and a lot quieter. I'll put some video of it running up here. It's a bit stuttery and startery. There's a couple of reasons why. One, the body is actually quite heavy, so it's not being pushed down onto the track as much as it was. But the other problem is that without the body on, the motor is free to kind of rotate a bit in the housing, and that means that if it's not in the right position, the motor essentially is just, when it's pushed in right, there are two copper pads on the bottom of the motor, which touch to the phosphor bronze pickup strip to do power. So if when you apply power to the motor, depending on which direction it's going, it's causing the motor to twist slightly in the cradle, which means that connection gets broken because the pads end up out of alignment with the pickup strips. Shouldn't be a problem when I've built it. The body, as we know, is all white metal. I mean, it even includes this ridiculously heavy lump. It's just a weight, and essentially it's going to go kind of here in the boiler, but right over the front wheels. So it's going to add a lot of weight. But there's also, the way it's designed means that once the body is on and down, it won't allow the motor to rotate. So hopefully they should be all fixed. But as I say, it does move as long as you're a bit careful about weight. It's fine. So there we go. So hopefully I'm going to start putting the body together soon. Instructions suggest 2-part epoxy and letting it cure for like 24 hours or something. I might use epoxy. I might go with super glue. Keeping the parts together nice and stable and square for 24 hours while the epoxy dries. For some of the parts that would be okay. For others, I think it's going to be tricky. So I think I'm probably going to be better off with super glue. I mean, I know the epoxy I've got doesn't take 24 hours to set, but it still does take a while before it's grippy enough that things can't move. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, yeah, hopefully it's not too complicated. First thing I need to do is glue the two halves of the boiler together. So that's these pieces. I've had a quick go at tidying up, but you can see that they fit together reasonably well. And then this cross member and this one essentially help hold the motor in place. There's a clearance for the gears, and then in the front here is where that weight's going to go. So yeah, this I think will probably be super glued. We might epoxy some of the details on later, but we'll see. But for that, come back to the next video and you can see how I've got on. Don't forget that subscription button should be down here somewhere if you want to be able to make sure you don't miss the next exciting instalment of this tiny build compared with the build I was working on before, the 60mm trem Loco. This is a little bit more manageable on my desk. Right, thanks for that. Bye for now.